count right now.
Okay. All right, are we good to go or do we still need a minute?
Thank you, Mayor Hermosillo. We have quorum.
Okay, great. All right, good morning, members of the MAG Economic Development Committee. With our chair unable to attend and with our vice chair needing to be on a call or on call, I will be chairing the meeting today as immediate past chair of the committee, and I do apologize for not being there in person, but it's always a pleasure to be with you guys, even virtually. So this meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. And since I'm also hosting virtually, if you would like to, for the people in the room, if you would like to make a comment or have a question, if I would ask if you can please do the same so I can record your name as I'm going through. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a white request to speak card located on the information table in the hallway and give it to MAG staff. If you are parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table and in the hallway. If you purchase a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. Before we begin with roll call, I'd like to welcome a new member representing the East Valley to the committee, Council Member Scott Moore of the town of Paradise Valley. Congratulations on your appointment and welcome to your first EDC meeting. We also welcome MAG's new Managing Executive Director, Ed Zerker. Ed started March 6th after the MAG Regional Council voted on bringing him over when Eric Anderson announced his retirement, effective July 1st, which is when Ed will become MAG's executive director. Ed had a long, distinguished career at the city of Phoenix, where he worked for 28 years and was a city manager starting in 2013, retiring in October 2021. Welcome, Ed. Would you like to say any words?
Thank you, Mayor Hermosillo, for that introduction. I appreciate being here with you all. As the mayor said, I started with MAG 4 weeks ago, and it's been a whirlwind since then. I've been spending most of my time working on the Proposition 400 extension efforts, which, as you all know, are very important, but there's other things I'm learning along the way with MAG staff, and it's been good to be here. As the mayor said, I have a 30-year career here in local government in Arizona, and this feels like a nice fit in my career. In having worked with many folks that I still get to encounter here, some who are here today, and also getting to know new people. So I look forward to that. Vice Mayor, I look forward to coming out to Fountain Hills this evening to speak with your council this evening, and just really look forward to working with MAG. You know, as the core areas of MAG, transportation, environment, quality of life, those things are all interrelated to the other core area, which is economy and growth, which you all know, and that's never been more evident than now. If you were able to see the Wall Street Journal today, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about Prop 400 and its importance here in the region. If you haven't seen it, SEPNA will send it around to the committee, but it really is a great illustration of how the work you're doing is all intertwined. We know that we need a strong transportation system to build a good economy. A good economy puts demand on a transportation system. Our air quality particularly is about why people want to live here, or making it so that people can live here, as well as allowing us to continue economic growth and continue the flow of federal funds. So all the areas of MAG really intertwine, and they intersect here where you all are working in the economy and growth area. So that's really interesting to me. I think it's interesting work. I think what you're doing is interesting work. And I just encourage you to continue to find ways for the economic development aspect of MAG to be part of that dialogue. For example, the very important aspect right now of getting Proposition 400 extended. As you, the elected body, the elected members of MAG, have asked the legislature to extend it, we are struggling right now to get the legislature to understand the wisdom of the plan as adopted by the regional council, by the elected leadership who are closest to the people here in the Phoenix region, which it would be you all as council members and mayors and vice mayors. We're going to continue to work at that. I'm optimistic. I think this is too important of a program for it not to happen. And so I think there's going to be a lot of ups and downs along the way. We've already experienced a lot of them, and the MAG staff has been doing great work, but we need to continue to push on the importance of a balanced transportation plan that's considering all aspects of transportation. As you all know from your diverse districts, your diverse parts of the region, we need freeways, we need roads, we need transit. It's not one versus the other, it's all of them. And so that's what we're going to be down at the legislature working on. And unfortunately, that's why I have to slip out now, because I've been called down to a meeting with one of the legislators to talk more about this. So in the future, I do plan to spend more time sitting in on the meetings with you. But for today, I just wanted to say hello, introduce myself. I'm always available. If you'd like to talk more, please reach out. I'm happy to come visit you in your community. I've made it a goal to get to all 32 communities by the end of 2023. And I look forward to seeing and visiting with you more. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Ed. We look forward to working with you, and we wish you the best at the Capitol. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Mayor. I will go down the list of members participating both in person and virtually. Ruben Alonso. Steve Betts.
Here, present.
Thank you. Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Present.
Thank you. Tony Bradley. Paul Carden. Vice Mayor Durham.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Edwards. Supervisor Galvin. James Griffiths. Councilmember Guy. Councilmember Hampton.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Hermosillo.
Here.
Thank you. Sintra Hoffman.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Judd.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Keating. Jim Kenny. Mayor LaVault.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Governor Lewis. Councilmember Malnar.
Present, but I may need to step away due to some council meetings going on.
Thank you for letting us know. Noted. Mike Markham.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Mayor McMinn.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Moore.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Brien.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliphant.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Pineda. Councilmember Poston.
Present.
Thank you. Darcy Renfro. Thank you. Mark Sanders.
Here.
Thank you. Todd Sanders. Mayor Smith. Councilmember Summers.
Present.
Thank you. Scarlett Spring.
Present.
Thank you. Marisa Walker. Bob Worlsley. Is there anyone whom I missed?
This is
I-
Paul Carden. I joined late. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Noted.
This is Janine Guy Buckeye. I also joined late.
Thank you. Noted. Anyone else whom I missed? Thank you. Madam Chair, we have quorum.
All right, great. All right. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving forward, our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda item unless the committee requests an exception to this limit. Are there any calls to the public?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no comments from the public on this or any other agenda.
Okay, thank you so much. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website 1 hour prior to the meeting. Staff, do we have any written comments for this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have any comments on this item.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, our next item is the approval of the February 7th Economic Development Committee meeting minutes. Does any member of the committee have any questions regarding the minutes? And I am virtual and I cannot see exactly who's in the room. So if you have any comments, if you can state your name. Any comments, questions? All right, moving forward. Prior to approval of the minutes, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment?
Chair, we have not received any comments.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any staff? Do we have any written comments for this item?
We have not. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Councilmember Mallor, so approved.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Second.
And who is this?
Chair, we have Councilmember Molnar who made the motion and a second from Vice Mayor Judd.
Okay. All right. We have a first motion as mentioned by Councilmember Melnar and a second motion by Vice Mayor Judd. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. All right, staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually, please?
Thank you, Chair. I will take a roll call of the members participating virtually. Please unmute and indicate how you vote. Steve Betts.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Whoops. Yes.
Thank you. Paul Carden.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Durham.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Guy.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Hampton.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Sintra Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor LaVault.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Malnar.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliphant.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Poston.
Yes.
Thank you. Mark Sanders.
Yes.
Thank you. Scarlet Spring.
Yes.
Thank you. Bob Worlsley.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone whom I missed participating virtually? Chair, the motion carries.
All right, thank you so much. Moving forward, this committee seeks to understand market moving trends and key sectors by hearing from experts and practitioners, like we did in February when we heard about the history-making semiconductor manufacturing investments. Today, we will hear from two stellar speakers about the biosciences, a sector that has always been important to the region and the state, and even more since the pandemic. Whether it is the growing downtown footprint of U of A's medical school and TGen, or the huge development of the Mayo Clinic ASU campus in North Phoenix, or Banner's medical facilities in the West and East Valley, the biosciences are one of the most important sectors of the state's and region's economy, both by how many are employed in the sector and projects under construction, and also counting the investment dollars coming into the state. To start us off is Brad Halverson, Executive Vice President at the Flynn Foundation, will present the foundation's biosciences roadmap's latest findings and discuss the impact of the biosciences on the region, as well as the outlook for the sector. This item is for information and discussion. Brad, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Hermosillo. I'm Brad Halverson with the Flynn Foundation. Thank you to MAG for having me here today and for having the Flynn Foundation here today. Next slide, please. So a bit about the Flynn Foundation. So we are a privately endowed grant-making organization created by Dr. and Mrs. Robert Flynn. Dr. Flynn was a well-known cardiologist in the mid-1960s. The foundation's mission is to improve the quality of life in Arizona to benefit future generations. And you can see on the screen the areas where we do that. Our major area of emphasis is the biosciences, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. So next slide, please. So initially, or always throughout our nearly 60 years, we've funded medical research and medical education in Arizona. And about 20 years ago, we took a much deeper dive on the biosciences, just a very promising sector at that time here in Arizona. And we've been funding that as well as bioscience research and commercialization since then. We have grants of upwards of $4 million per year on average to the biosciences here in Arizona. And we also pull together a lot of data that we release to the public to gauge how the sector is doing. That's what you'll hear today. Next slide, please. So why the biosciences? Basically, two reasons that we got involved. One is high wage jobs that have resiliency during economic down cycles. And then secondly is to enable Arizonans to have first access to the latest health innovations through clinical trials and new products and new companies. Next slide. So just very briefly, what are the biosciences? Simplistically speaking, it's really harnessing biology to enhance our lives. And you see there on the screen the technical definition of the industry segments that make up the biosciences. And generally speaking, this is true for the whole country. The first five are Arizona does consider hospitals to be part of our bioscience sector, just due to the large amount of clinical research that takes place at our hospitals and health systems. Next slide. So in 2002, the Flynn Foundation launched Arizona's Bioscience Roadmap, which is a long-term strategic plan to develop our state's bioscience sector. And since then, Arizonans from diverse areas have worked together to implement the roadmap recommendations. And now at 20 years old, it's the longest active statewide bioscience strategic plan in the nation. And the effort is guided by a steering committee of 120 bioscience leaders from throughout the state in areas like research and industry, academia, healthcare, and government. And there's significant representation by city and local governments. We actually have 7 mayors that sit on the steering committee. And and I should mention too that Darcy Renfro here in front of me has been a longtime member of the Roadmap Steering Committee, as has Scarlett Spring, who I just heard online is with us today. Next slide, please. So it takes a whole ecosystem to really fuel the biosciences, and you can see a representation of that here on the screen. It's not just industry, it's the research that will fuel the industry. It's hospitals and healthcare. It's education and workforce to provide future talent. It's support groups to help our entrepreneurs and others, and then government as well. And government is very important because this is really a public-private partnership involving connections with the federal, state, and local government levels. Next slide. Here you can just see quickly some of the names you're likely familiar with in our Phoenix area bioscience ecosystem. This is not everybody, but this obviously, but it shows you a sampling of some of the prominent education, research, and health institutions as well as companies. And next slide. So proximity is very important in the biosciences as it breeds collaboration. And in the greater Phoenix area, we have a few concentrations of alike organizations and companies in the biosciences. The biggest is right here downtown, the Phoenix Bioscience Core, which sits on 30 acres. And this features so many different types of organizations plus companies. All 3 state universities are there, the University of Arizona Medical School as well, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. TGen is there, the Bioscience High School, VA has its research operation there locally. There's a branch of the National Institutes of Health there, Dignity Health, and many companies and more to come as well. And next slide. And then a future hub is taking place at North Phoenix with Mayo Clinic's North Phoenix campus in collaboration with ASU. This will be 228 acres that is set up for future development and regarding research, industry, education, and manufacturing. It's what you're looking at on the slide. All those buildings that are right by Loop 101 is considered the Discovery Oasis, and that will take shape over years to come. Next slide, please. So back to the performance metrics that I had mentioned. When Flynn launched the roadmap, we committed to commissioning performance metrics on a regular basis, consistent metrics, so we can gauge how the state is doing. When the roadmap started, Arizona had a very nascent bioscience sector at best. And since then, Arizona's research infrastructure has really developed, and that's led to new products, new jobs, and new companies for our ecosystem. And now Arizona is one of the fastest growing states in the biosciences in the country. And in fact, Phoenix was named #1 in job growth in the life sciences recently by CBRE. We just hit the 20th anniversary of the Bioscience Roadmap, and at that time, we took a look back at the growth over the past 2 decades, and that's some of what I'll share here in the slides to come. Next slide. This just shows you the number of jobs that make up our biosciences industry. Does include hospitals. That's the vast majority of the jobs. However, there's 34,000 non-hospital bioscience jobs within the specific industries that you just saw. Next slide. And this slide shows the growth rate of Arizona bioscience jobs versus US bioscience jobs. Arizona is the green line on top, the US is the blue line on the bottom. Arizona has been growing increasingly fast in comparison to the nation, and at growing at 2 or 3 times the rate in recent years. And right now, bioscience and health and hospital jobs make up 1 out of every 18 in the Arizona private sector. Next slide. And this shows Arizona bioscience jobs versus Arizona private sector jobs. Arizona bio jobs is the green line once again. And the key here is that during the Great Recession, when private jobs really took a hit, the bioscience jobs kept on growing, which was a goal of the roadmap from the start. And next slide. And that relates to what you see here. Indeed, one of the goals was to be able to endure economic downturns. On this slide, you see 4 different phases that we've endured that we've experienced on the bioscience roadmap, both boom and bust. And in every case, the bioscience jobs have been outpacing the private sector jobs and growth and continuing on during the bust times, and also outnumbering the US bioscience jobs, and that included during the COVID pandemic. Next slide. So we track statewide data. We don't have a lot of metro data, but this is one piece. This shows the job growth by our 3 metropolitan areas. All 3 have enjoyed high growth over the 20 years of the roadmap, especially in the Phoenix metro area, and also especially in the non-hospital biosciences. Next slide. In regards to high-paying jobs, I mentioned before, the average bioscience job pays $76,000, and these data are a couple years old, so I know it's gone up since then. The non-hospital bioscience jobs pay $92,000 on average. That compares to a private sector average of $58,000. And just as a side note, these jobs don't require a doctorate necessarily. There's a lot of jobs for bachelor's degrees and associate degrees. And next slide. So I'll speed through these next few pretty quickly just because I crammed too many slides in this presentation. But one of the key benchmarks is the amount of National Institutes of Health funding that comes into Arizona. When we started the roadmap, Arizona was lagging the rest of the nation by quite a bit. Our goal was for Arizona to catch up to the growth rate of the nation. And you can see about 7 years ago, we met the country and have been growing at about twice the growth rate since then. Next slide. Tech transfer is an important measure. It's a gauge of how we're taking our research from the universities and turning them into jobs and products and companies. There's too many measures here to go through, but I'll just point out that middle column that you see with the bold numbers represents the growth over the last 2 years. So significant growth rates that are happening in our universities, taking that research and spinning it out to the community. The next slide. And one of the struggles that we've had in Arizona, and most states have had as well, except for those on the coast, is generating venture capital. And that's the major investment that's needed in order to grow and scale companies. It's been, the good news is it's been growing rapidly in the last few years. In fact, about 10 times the amount of what we started with 20 years ago. But we still have work to do in that area. We still need more private venture capital to come in to fuel our bioscience firms. Next slide. And real quick, this is just a few postage stamps showing 20 years at a glance across several key areas. And the main message here is they're all going up, and they're going up steadily, which we like to see. Next slide. So at Flynn, we award a variety of grants for the biosciences, including these 2 annual programs, which I'll mention. We have a seed grants program for Arizona researchers to translate their research into products and patient care. And on the other side of the spectrum, we also have a program, the Bioscience Entrepreneurship Program, that supports promising emerging Arizona bioscience firms. And we've gotten record levels of applications this year, which we like to see as well. So I'll also mention quickly just a few offerings from Flynn. Next slide. If you're interested, we post every year a progress report on the biosciences in Arizona. We've done that for the last 20 years. Our newest one will go up in about a couple of weeks. It's on our website at that address. Next slide. We also track more than 1,200 Arizona bioscience companies and organizations on our website on the Arizona Biomap. Next slide. And as part of that, we list resources for different audiences. There's a page there as well for resources for elected officials about the biosciences in Arizona. And then next slide. And then I'll just finish to say that Flynn holds an annual event every year to report back to the community on the progress of the bioscience sector. And the next one will be on April the 19th, and it's to be held virtually. We invite any of you to attend if you have interest. The QR code that you see on the screen will take you right to the registration page. And this year we're featuring 3 mayors speaking on the importance of local efforts to advance the biosciences. And that's Mayors Gallego and Ortega and Romero. So with that, maybe we can leave that up there just to have the QR code up there. But questions? I see Darcy Renfro's hand.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Thanks for remembering me. I know it's been a while since I've been to one of the Bioscience Roadmap Steering Committee meetings. Do you have any sense of what accounts for the increase in venture capital in the last 3 years? Has that just been putting those to the grindstone, working the deals and continuing to stay focused, or did something else happen?
I think it's in part that. It's also that there have been some new local funds that have been introduced. The Arizona Venture Capital Development Corporation, which spun out of the ACA, debuted this past year. That's been a big boost. I know that's about $100 million fund or more. In addition, there's other funds like Accelerant Ventures has taken off now in Phoenix. And there have been a few more around the state. So having local venture capital really does help.
All right, any further questions from the committee? All right, thank you so much, Brad. We really appreciate all of that information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next item is a presentation from Dr. Guy Reed, Dean of the University of Arizona College of Medicine in Phoenix. Dr. Reed will present on how the U.S. Medical Campus Phoenix is helping drive the biosciences sector forward in the region. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Dr. Reed, the floor is now yours.
Give me a second to pull up my slides.
Sounds good.
So I'm here on behalf of the College of Medicine Phoenix, which is only a few blocks away on the Phoenix Biomedical Campus. And I believe I'm going to be advancing slides. Are you doing that? Let me try the old-fashioned way here. Okay, so like many of you, we have a strategic vision that guides everything we do. And this strategic vision is really centered on improving the health of our communities through distinction, excellence in personalized medical education. That's medical education tailored to the individual learner so that they can develop their passion, their skills, so they can serve our communities for approximately 40 years each. Translational research, patient care, and doing this within a culture of inclusive excellence that serves the diverse communities that we are responsible for. Our strategic plan articulated all of this vision and goals. And if you ever are interested or have difficulty sleeping, you can find it on our website. You'll see that we have 150 initiatives that we've been working on. And I'm pleased to say that we've made progress on achieving about half of them. About 60 are nearly achieved. And they're in the areas of education, research, clinical care, and community service. So I'm going to not highlight 150. I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 critical ones. And one is our mission to serve the communities by providing physicians in an area of tremendous unmet need. It's been estimated that there are 50 to 80,000 fewer physicians than the country needs now. And Arizona, unfortunately, is below the median in the number of physicians per community members. And we started out there and we're growing very quickly. So that deficit's going to take a while for us to make up. So that was a really important initiative for us to grow the number of physicians that we graduate each year. So we undertook that initiative. We grew our class by 50%, a big lift for training young physicians. And I have to say, our timing could not have been worse. We admitted those young physicians in training in June of 2020, right in the midst of the pandemic, when we were changing all of our educational modalities, going to virtual things. It was a big lift, but our faculty and staff did an enormously incredible job. And we have continued to grow our class successfully there. And we have not only grown the class, the physicians that will serve you, but we've also grown the academic distinction of this class. We started with students in the 60th percentile of MCATs. We now have been in the 90th percentile. That means in the top 10% of students across the country entering medical school. So this is a really academically achieving class. We've also been able to increase the diversity of our students. Again, we will serve very diverse communities. It's been known that it's easier sometimes for people to connect with people that have similar backgrounds. And so we have achieved about 65%, 64% in our dimensions of diversity that include rural upbringing, underrepresented in medicine, educationally under-resourced, or socioeconomically disadvantaged. For many, many years, it won't be a surprise to you all that women have outnumbered men in medical school. In fact, now, if you look at physicians about age 42 or 43, those younger than that point are mostly women. And men are mostly older. So we're seeing a huge demographic shift in this. We've not only grown the class, increased the academic distinction of our students, but we passed a rigorous stress test with our accreditors. You know, medical school accreditation is a very serious business. It takes about 2 years for us to prepare for accreditation. And the results really can determine a lot of things. We successfully passed with 8 years of full accreditation. That's the maximum that you can achieve. A real, again, testament to our faculty and to our staff, because we did this in 2022 coming out of the pandemic, despite increasing our class by 50%. Another testament to the success of this is how our graduating young physicians are viewed across the country by potential residencies. Well, I'm pleased to report we just had 100% successful match day. About 30% of our young physicians will go into primary care areas, but many will go into very competitive specialties like neurosurgery, ENT, ophthalmology, et cetera. And because Phoenix is behind, and actually Maricopa County is behind in the number of residency positions that we currently offer, many of those students have to go elsewhere to get that training. And we want to keep as many as we can here in Arizona, but you know, we have to let a few go to some lesser training programs, you know, that are on the list here. I know that you've not heard of Harvard or Cedars or Stanford or any of those places. Our students are really competitive for those programs. Here's kind of a tabular representation of where the College of Medicine Phoenix is by comparison to College of Medicine Tucson. And I use College of Medicine Tucson because it's about 60 years old. It represents, you know, a fully built out academic medical center model. College of Medicine Phoenix is on that journey to being fully built out and all of its capabilities. The green plus signs indicate that College of Medicine Tucson has these departments, has these residency programs. The green you can see for Phoenix, you can see we have a few. We have in yellow new programs starting that we've been investing in and building over the last few years. And we still have some challenges in building programs in key areas like anesthesiology, pathology, other things like that. This has been our effort to build out these programs so that we can have an outstanding medical school that serves all of these areas of specialty. And to achieve that, we've really partnered with our primary affiliation partner, Banner, over the course of now 3 or 4 years to build out a strategic plan to add 320 new residents to Phoenix. That's almost doubles the current number of residents. It's a brave and bold new plan. It does take advantage of new CMS funding, Center for Medicaid Medicare Services funding that supports these residences. So it's money on the table that we don't want to leave left on the table to support this physician education, retain these physicians here. So if there's anything I would maybe ask you all to do is be sure to advocate for the importance of doing this, because this is really important to the health of our communities. As we build out these programs, we've been able to recruit outstanding leaders in medicine from across the country. Dr. Alexandrov's an example of someone who just is starting in a couple of weeks. He has built stroke programs that cover entire cities. You know, ischemic stroke still is, I think, the 5th leading cause of death and the primary cause of long-term disability, despite all the innovation. We desperately need these kind of programs here. Dr. Roseanne Coe, another person that just joined us, is a leader from an OBGYN in terms of minimally invasive gynecologic surgery, another important area. She will build out this area and additional 3 residency programs and fellowships. She comes to us from background at Cleveland Clinic, Mayo, and Columbia. Something you may not appreciate is that physicians, in addition to their health impact on communities, have significant economic associated impact. Each physician, it's been estimated, may support 17 community jobs, contributing more than $3 million in average impact to the community. Physicians' economic impact has been estimated to be larger than education, nursing, community care facilities, home health, and legal services in nearly every state. Now, this data admittedly comes from the AMA, so it probably is, shall I say, pitched in that way, but it really is a significant impact that each physician has. And that's why it's so important for us to catch up with the number of physicians that we train, that we can have out in our communities, taking care of our patients and our communities. Another really important part of medical schools is the impact that they have in advancing science and pushing science into new therapeutics, new drugs, new devices, new algorithms, new ways of treating and improving health. And so that's why we have focused at the College of Medicine Phoenix in this building called the BSPB on building out translational research. Obviously, it has the goal of improving human health, but it also has a significant community impact economically, because as you discover the causes of diseases, it makes it easier to discover new ways to treat and prevent. That leads to spin-off companies, recruitment of scientists from across the country, business people from across the country, accretion of capital, a significant increase there. We have been successful in growing our research extramural funding by almost 5-fold in the last 5 years. And that puts us in the top ranks of newer medical schools across the country. We can't do everything. So we have focused on 3 areas of translational research, the ones that most affect Arizonans in terms of cause of death and disability: heart disease, still, neurosciences, mental health and neurodegenerative disease, still, and childhood illnesses. And we've used kind of cross-cutting scientific platforms to help propel these fields forward. I'll give you an example of some of the people that we've recruited recently. Dr. Ayman Fanous, one of the world leaders in the genetics of acute psychotic illness, schizophrenia. It used to be believed when I was training that, psychotic disorders had to do with the way that you were raised or community factors or other things like that. It's been discovered. Many are caused by specific genetic disorders that can be targeted for treatment. Dr. Vladimir Kalinichenko, we just recruited from Cincinnati Children's Hospital, one of the premier children's hospitals in the country. Dr. Klinichenko will lead our new Phoenix Children's Research Institute at the University of Arizona, a $35 million commitment that the college has made in building a partnership with Phoenix Children's to really address unmet areas of need in children's health. Dr. Klinichenko is in the top 1 to 2% of investigators in the country with 3 NIH grants, and we're very excited about the impact that he will have. We have worked in partnership with the VA. The VA is not only delivers care to our veterans who've done so much for our country, but they're a source of research and innovation. And so we set the 7th floor of our BSPB building up as a special VA space. It passes VA cybersecurity metrics, everything else. So that allows our faculty and VA faculty to work together on big data, big questions that, you know, the VA has started a program called the Million Veterans Program that gets genetic data from 1 million volunteers. That's linked to the biggest clinical database in the world. That's really already providing outstanding insights into the causes of disease. And we've also just recruited another chair of our neuroscience division. And that's really very, very exciting. Dr. Bibb is very interested in translating some of his recent discoveries into new therapeutics. And he, in addition, like all of these, will have a multiplier effect, recruiting another 6 to 8 additional faculty. So we have come to be enthusiastic proponents of this vision of the Phoenix Biomedical Core, or Biomedical Campus, as a national center for biomedical research, because as was alluded to earlier, this is a rich intellectual technical environment that takes advantage of the fact that NAU, ASU, U of A, TGen, and other groups are here in partnership working together. That can drive discovery, but it can also create an environment of entrepreneurial success that will help our faculty develop their ideas into tangible products for community benefit. And so I'm going to summarize by, instead of telling you about 150 new initiatives, we focused on just a handful today. We have been growing in size and distinction or excellence because we are focused on improving community health. Physicians have significant economic impact in addition to their health impact. That economic impact is in jobs related to clinical care, but also innovation and discovery of new treatments and development of new therapeutics. We need more residency programs in Maricopa. I mean, and I'd like to ask for your continuing support and advocating for that. I think we've got this plan pretty much across the goalpost, but it's something that we need support to get done. And we are very excited about partnering with our other institutions on the Phoenix Biomedical Campus to use translational research as an engine to drive health and innovation in a biomedical economy. So I'm going to stop there and ask for any questions or any rebuttals. Yeah.
Good afternoon. On one of the slides, it showed Tucson with 526 or something, and then Phoenix. Do you know why the large discrepancy?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons, but it just seems like it's like 50% more. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is that slide. So again, I think it's related to time of development. 60 years that the College of Medicine Tucson has been operative and has progressively build out these programs. The challenge, the reason that it's more of an imperative for us now is because CMS opened a window to support new programs, a window that had not been opened since, I think, was it the Budget Reconciliation Act of 1995 or whatever it was. And so we have a window to catch up, and we desperately need to do that. Yes. But I think the other thing that we need to do is to continue to work to develop all of the departments and everything else that will support all of this, so that we have a a first-class academic medical center here for our community. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Reed. Are there any final questions or comments from the committee?
This is Councilwoman Ann O'Brien.
All right, go ahead.
You asked for our support in helping to create those residencies. Are there specific actions that you need us to take or things to do?
So I think I don't want to get too much into the weeds of how this is done, but I think if you can, you may all have banner hospitals in your area. If you can advocate for how important this is to banner, I think that's really an important thing. And I understand, obviously, there's some Banner would be the primary sponsor of this, according to the way the residencies are funded. And we provide the educational support and everything else for this, but they would be the employer. And so, obviously, and I want to be fair, this post-COVID has been a challenge for healthcare systems. And so, I think that they're trying to figure how do we juggle all this and move it forward, but it is economically very positive. Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Darcy Renfro. I just want to congratulate you on the success of what you've accomplished in really in this short period of time post-COVID with all of the new talent coming in. This asset is hugely important to the future of the state. I just wanted, because there's an audience of elected officials and local city leaders, we have the same problem in clinical spots for nursing and allied health fields in Maricopa colleges as it's not as deep a problem because a residency is a much bigger deal. That said, we need that similar support to the hospitals to open up clinical positions so we can get more nurses enrolled and we get more nurses in the field.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Any final comments or questions from the committee? All right, hearing none, we will move forward. Thank you again, Dr. Reed, for the presentation and all of the information. Thank you so much. Moving forward with item number 7. Item number 7 is an update on the extension of Proposition 400. Nathan Pryor, MAG Policy and Government Relations Director, will provide the update to the Economic Development Committee. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion only. Nathan?
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the EDC. Next slide, please. And we'll jump ahead one more. So we've been providing updates to our Regional Council, Transportation Policy Committee, and also sharing those updates to this committee as well. We've been focused a lot of our efforts on Senate Bill 1246. You can see some of the provisions there on the screen, some of the funding allocations. This is a strike everything bill from Representative Cook. We're appreciative of Representative Cook addressing our Prop 400 extension efforts. Notable in this is the transit provision, seeing at 26%. So currently in Proposition 400 for transit, we're about 33%. So that supports the transit that exists today. So when we think about percentages, anything below that number, it means transit reduction. So that's a significant concern. We're going to continue working with Representative Cook. He has been holding stakeholder meetings, of which we are a participant in. I think a good reminder, even yesterday at the House Appropriations Committee, and I'll come to that here in a moment, is how the plan was built. I think Mayor Ken Weiss, who chairs the MAG Regional Council, did a really good job. I think people get focused on percentages and assume that, okay, well, let's start with percentages and build that in. That is not how we developed our regionally adopted plan. It was working with member agencies and compiling those projects across modes, freeways, arterials, transit, and then through a lot of compromise, these percentages emerge. So I think folks kind of want to jump to the end and reverse engineer it from the percentages. And in fact, it was just done the opposite, where we canvassed the member agencies in terms of transportation needs going out 20 and 25 years. And these are the percentages that emerge, meaning that we're seeing significant demand from our residents and businesses for more transit. So just a note on that one. Next slide, please. Sticking with 1246, there's a number of provisions that are inconsistent with our regionally approved plan. Notable on top of there, you see the reduction in existing lane miles. This is a real safety concern. So especially for our cities and towns who look at their streets or arterial streets, sometimes there's a need to put in safety provisions that effectuate a reduction in the lane. However, that we're really supportive of local control for our cities and towns to make those decisions as needed to address safety issues in the respective jurisdictions. So just a note on that one. Like I said, we're appreciative of Representative Cook. He has been holding stakeholder meetings with business interests, us at MAG, Valley Metro. So those conversations, we look forward to continuing with Representative Cook. Next slide, please. Similarly, working with Representative Livingston, he has a proposed strike everything on Senate Bill 1102. In fact, this was, as I mentioned, heard at the House Appropriations Committee yesterday, at which Representative Livingston chairs. This is a little bit different. The first number of pages in this strike everything, you'll see calling attention to housing needs. So addressing issues of homelessness, affordable housing, pocket shelters, some zoning requirements. This simply doesn't really fit, again, some of that local control issue among our member agencies. We don't believe that's, of course, tangential to what we're trying to do and a focus on transportation policy. So next slide, please. These are the funding allocations and Representative Livingston striker much closer to our regionally adopted plan. That's very encouraging. As I'd mentioned, Chair Weiss did a great job of speaking to these issues. A notable provision here you see under the transit, it would divert some funding for housing kind of elements, if you will. That's a significant policy departure, removing transportation funding, if you will, to more housing issues. So that's not a bit of a non-starter for us. And that was expressed as we did sign in against the bill. However, the bill did pass. And with that, Representative Livingston, similar to Representative Cook, has expressed interest in holding stakeholder meetings. We've been meeting with Representative Livingston along the way. So we looked forward to having those conversations about what can be done to get this bill in a position where we could be more supportive of that effort. A lot more to come. This morning was the Arizona Transit Association conference kickoff this morning. Governor Hobbs was there. She did express support for the work that we are doing. She's looking forward to legislation that is more closely aligned with our regionally adopted plan, looking forward to that legislation coming to her desk sometime in this session. We are encouraged overall. We're optimistic at the path we're going. I think that it's trending in the right direction. It's going to take a lot more conversations to get there, though. Recognizing there's probably a number of months to go in our legislative session. So we'll be in those conversations all along the way. Madam Chair, members of the committee, that completes my report. Do appreciate members of this committee signing in when we do provide those updates on bills. Let us know any questions you have along the way during session. There's no dumb or wrong questions to be asked. We're here as staff to be a resource. Madam Chair, that completes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Do any members have questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and move forward with item 8, which is request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by a committee member for an item on a future agenda? All right, hearing none, we will move forward with item number 9. Are there any comments or announcements from the membership? All right, moving forward to adjournment. The next meeting of the MAG Economic Development Committee will be on Tuesday, June 6th at 11:30 a.m. With no further business, today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for everyone's attendance, and we will see you next time.